following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello.
Hey, I got you, Sam. How are you?
Oh, good. Pretty good. Pretty good.
All right.
And, good talking to you. I enjoyed our visit yesterday.
I did too, and we're just going to continue the visit. My podcasts are simply an extension of what we talked about. Conversational is all.
Okay, sounds good.
So let's do her. We're going to pause 10 seconds and not say anything to each other. And then I'm going to take it so I can edit this part out.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. Silence. I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zig Zag Man, in Alameda, California, right across the bay from San Francisco and across the moat from Oakland. I'm at the 420 studio. We're down by the lagoon, as Archie Bunker would say, and I'm celebrating like 7 years of doing podcasting in the month of January. It's carried over to February, but I am having just a great celebration, bringing back a bunch of old guests who haven't been with me for a long time, and meeting a bunch of new folks who are, in keeping with my motif, if you will, some of the most interesting men, women on the planet. And I was lucky enough yesterday to get introduced by a mutual friend. Steve Joyner introduced me to this young man originally from Texas and is now in Maryland, and he's had quite a journey. So let me introduce you to Sam.
Yes, Whitehill.
I
got it.
I
was in Maryland until 4 years ago. Now we're in Burbank, California.
Okay, well, you know, your phone comes up Maryland. I forgot your name, forgot your last name. So that's two in one podcast. They're going to have me put to sleep.
I don't think so. I think I'm older than you are. You call me a young man, but you're young at heart, and I hope your heart is young.
Well,
and,
it is indeed.
We became introduced to cell phones while we were in Maryland. That's where we got the number. So
gotcha.
People think I'm in Maryland, which is just as good.
Gotcha.
And
you're what I consider to be, Sam, a Renaissance man. And you have. We talked a little off the air. You've lived an incredibly interesting life, and why don't you fill the audience in on this? I talked to you yesterday, and I got an idea of what you're about. You fit right in on these airwaves. So give me a little synopsis, if you will, for the audience.
Okay, I grew up in Lubbock, Texas, and lived in Austin for many years. I'm a lawyer on the Texas bar, and I used to work in the House of Representatives in Austin.
Oh, wow.
Some people would say some people remember that play, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Well, I think the House of Representatives is probably the best little whorehouse in Texas as far as whoring to the special interest. But, you know, that's another story. That's another radio show entirely.
Well, it doesn't have to be. We could talk about a bunch of things. What is your take on what's going on in today's tumult, as they say in the Bronx? In your lifetime, has things been any crazier than they are?
No.
Notwithstanding the Kennedy 2 or 3 days there, I was just a kid standing around the radio, and couldn't
Yeah,
really
you were in
feel.
high school when that happened.
I was, and I had no grasp of severity of any of this stuff. I was just getting high and enjoying life.
Well, I lived in Lubbock. We didn't get high. Sometimes we'd get a beer or something. That's about as wild as we got. But I was buying, when Kennedy was shot, I was buying a corsage for my date to the next day. There would be a big football game between our high school and another high school. And my date was former anchor person Rita Williams, who was on the Fox news station in
out where I am.
for many years.
Out where I am.
We were talking about Rita yesterday. Yeah, I was buying a corsage for Rita, and I went ahead and bought it. And they said something happened. The president's been shot. We all went to the auditorium, and the principal told us that President Kennedy was dead, and you could hear the cries and the weeping in the audience. It was terrible. It was a terrible day, and I believe the next day we were watching on live television and saw Lee Harvey Oswald get shot when he's being transferred to the jail. So.
Oh yeah, I watched that on live television as well.
Oh yeah.
That was just.
But compared to what's going on today, it was a terrible event. And when Martin Luther King was killed, and when Robert Kennedy was murdered, these were all terrible events. And then Nixon. But now, with what's going on in Washington, Nixon actually looks good.
Right. I was telling Tally, my friend, about Nixon's demise as a president, because they're showing clips on CNN of a documentary that's upcoming, and it's interesting that he got to the point. He and Henry Kissinger were on the White House floor praying. And it's certainly okay to pray, but this was not a particularly observant human being, and and he was praying. The irony is, I'm fully aware of what went on in his head regarding Jews, and he was praying with a Jew. I know how I heard the tapes of how he felt about it all, and I shake my head whenever the subject comes up. But go ahead.
Well, last night on Rachel Maddow, she spoke about Spiro Agnew, and they had more documentation that after Spiro Agnew was no longer vice president, he was trying to get help from the Saudi Arabians to assist him in fighting the Jews, and he wrote a letter to the Saudis, and they wrote him back, and they granted him the $2 million he was asking for. That's just how bad it was back then.
Wow.
It was really awful, and we didn't even know about that. It was Spiro Agnew until last night, and they checked the documentation. It turned out to be correct.
Holy Toledo! You mean the man that took a bag full of money in the vice president's office would do something like this? I hadn't.
Well, he did something like that, and also the first George Bush was keeping a very friendly correspondence with Spiro Agnew after he was no longer vice president too.
Really?
So,
well, I've always said that.
Letters.
Yeah, because of George Bush sitting in the White House basement with Powers. Not Powers. The colonel who.
Colonel Oliver North.
Oliver North, who becomes
he was a right-wing hero. Yeah.
Right-wing hero, and he's now the head of the NRA, if I'm not mistaken, or one of the.
Yeah, well,
the main.
That's no surprise.
Is this a crazy world? We don't learn from stuff. It's unbelievable.
My wife and I listen to Rachel Maddow every night because not only she's a great newscaster and she has a lot of sense of humor, but they do really original work that and research. And every night she has something new to report that no one else is reporting.
I will try her. We're hooked on CNN these days.
Yeah, well, you can say on CNN, but I think that 6 p.m. Pacific time we should tune into Rachel, and it's really an amazing ride for an hour. And she always has great guests on, including our Congressman Adam Schiff.
Oh, wow.
He's our local congressman for our district.
Quite an impression he made when he just looked at Trump, when Trump says, "I'm taking responsibility for all of this. I'll shut down the government." And Schiff just looks at him with this knowing smile, like, what the hell are you doing?
Whack-a-rama time here, yeah.
Exactly.
I was talking to a director a couple of weeks ago who was pointing out that there was a writer's strike here in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, around the year 2000, and networks were getting desperate, and they started having these reality shows in which they wouldn't have to pay very much, and they wouldn't need any really serious writing to produce these shows.
Wow.
And 2004 was Trump's introduction to the United States audiences on his show. Everybody in New York knew that Trump was a crook, was a fool, was no one to be taken seriously, and they would go to his parties because he had a lot of money and people had a lot of money to hang out with each other. But the rest of the country was not aware of Trump being such a buffoon, and that's how he became president. He was made president because of reality television.
No question about that. And he really captured the hearts of New Yorkers by rebuilding an ice skating rink in Central Park.
Yeah.
And he got a lot of good press. His father was his grandfather was Ku Klux Klan guy. His father was a slumlord for Woody Guthrie, among other folks. And everybody hated him. But when he rebuilt that ice skating rink,
but you really can't hate people because they're dads. Look at John F. Kennedy's father was a Nazi sympathizer and criminal, and
he not absolutely sent Jews back when to be executed when he was ambassador to England. I think it was. He was a piece of work, and he made the mistake of pissing off the mafia. And
and that's how they killed his son.
That's absolutely right. And
I saw that on Nova or some responsible show a few years back.
Well, I got the word on that firsthand from a fellow who is the son of the late Albert Anastasia. His name is Jack O'Halloran. Really? He's a Renaissance man himself. He was a boxing champion, fought Foreman, beat Norton. He was in the movie Superman. He wrote a book. He played pro football. And he graces this airwaves with his presence. And I get a lot from him. And we go round and around on socialism. Most people don't even know what socialism is. They think it's communism in this world.
There are various levels of socialism, and you're talking about socialism in Sweden versus socialism in Cuba. They're talking about different types of animals there.
Well, I don't think it's socialism in Cuba. I think it's communism in Cuba.
Well, communism is actually what they claim to be aiming toward, and they're using a socialist economy where the government is in charge of producing goods, and supplying goods, and they do a terrible job of it, but that's essentially their form of socialism. Whereas socialism in Sweden, you have a capitalist economy, private enterprise, and the government is involved in social welfare for the population. And that's kind of what Democrat socialists stand for.
Hey, listen, capitalism works. What's wrong with capitalism is greed, is capitalistic greed. And if we would only tax the very rich a fair amount, all our social problems would be taken care of. And I'm talking...
it's possible. I mean, they'd be much improved for sure.
Absolutely. And so let's start on that. And we have an election coming up. I ask my guests, what do you think the end game will be for Trump? He's going down. Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
How do you think it's going to play out? It's not a right or wrong. Nobody really knows. But if you had to be Nostradamus, what would you say is going to happen?
Well, it's possible he could actually resign and rely on Pence to pardon him, as Nixon was pardoned by Gerald Ford, and that would be his best hope.
Okay.
Otherwise, I am totally nonplussed by this whole situation. I can't believe that people are actually obeying what he's telling them to do. He says, well, the president can do this and this and this. And sure, as a president, he can, but it appears to be that he's incapable of performing as president. Maybe the 25th Amendment is something they could do.
I've suggested that. I think that would be great if he's incapable. It doesn't have to be a physical thing. He could just be incapable mentally, and he's demonstrating some things mentally. If you're a real estate salesperson and you become president, and you take no advice from your intelligence community, that the country, we the taxpayers, and even the non-taxpayers pay on one level or another for all this information, and this guy doesn't read the briefings. He makes decisions on gut feelings. Isn't that where Amendment 25? Isn't that what Amendment 25 was about?
It would seem so. People seem to be saying, "Well, the president's he has a stroke. He can't talk. If something terrible happens like that," and that's the first thought. But if he's incapable of performing the basic duties of president because he doesn't want to me that seems he's incapable.
Right.
It's a matter of can't or can I
won't.
do this or may I do this? Yeah, I won't do this. Yeah, it's really scary. It's very bizarre thinking this man has such power. The president of the United States is a very powerful position, and more so than any prime minister in a parliamentary country. And it's almost like a king in the old days, and he had a very high level of power there. And this man is, and his family too. It's a criminal family.
His son-in-law has a criminal for a father, which again, the acorn and all that stuff. But you mentioned Kennedy. I'll accept that. But if everybody in your administration has either been indicted, convicted, or awaiting conviction, have turned over evidence.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I heard something today that cheered me up, though. The indictments by the court in New York, the Southern District of New York.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
they're not pardonable. So if his cronies like Cohn or any of these folks expect to be pardoned on indictments that come from those courts, not going to happen. Those are state courts, not federal courts. So I feel good about that part. I also feel good about the fact that his immediate family will be indicted by those courts, and he won't be able to pardon them. So it's going to turn out where he'll get his just due, but it's a matter of how much he destroys the fabric of this country. All these hate crimes have to be as a result of the top down kind of thing. It starts at the top.
He makes it respectable to be able to say things like what they're saying or do things like they're doing. It would seem that after all this country's been through, even thinking these kind of racist thoughts is absurd that people actually think such things.
Well, that goes without saying, but to encourage the people who are undecided to think that way, you're not going to change a basic racist. But recruiting more racists to go with it is nuts. Yeah.
I don't know. It's very frustrating. My wife is a better predictor than I am. She's the one who said, he's going to get the nomination and he's going to win. I said, that's ridiculous. No one would ever nominate him, and he won, and here he is. So anything she says, I'll believe now. I won't tell her that, of course, but I will just mark it down and wait for it to happen.
Well, hey, what's her name? What's your wife's name?
Her name is Susan.
All right, Susan. If you're listening to this,
she has another last name, but she's very shy of being on radio. My daughter is a public figure.
Sam, I probably would have forgotten that. Whatever her last name is, I would have forgotten that on a day like today. Flustered.
My daughter, go ahead. My daughter Mary Whitehill is a public figure because of the non-profit that she started to help new immigrants in basically in the California area, but also it's going national now.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It's called Mary's List, MIRYSLIST.org. You should look it up, and your listening audience should look it up, and they're doing some great work. She's been interviewed by all the networks. She's been lauded by the city of Los Angeles, given citations, not traffic citations, but a citation of honor. And she is doing amazing work. She just started this a couple of years ago. Somebody needed some baby furniture, and then she got her mom's group to find these items. And it turned out these new immigrants coming here are put in apartments that's no furniture whatsoever. Sometimes they have 3 or 4 children, including infants. So trying to make their life more livable and make them feel at home.
That is what a wonderful cause. That is terrific.
You should look it up and check it out because Mary's List is certainly an organization for which we should be very proud and supportive.
You have to be incredibly proud as a parent, and
after all, we raised 4 wonderful kids, and of course they all went through teenagehood and all those things, and we were, we had some. It's harder to raise a girl than it is to raise a boy, and
I raised a boy. I raised a boy, and they're both. It's a thrill to be a parent and to see them progress. That's I'm happy for you.
Each of my kids is very different from the other. One boy is a lawyer, one boy is an architect, one boy's wife is a fundraiser for Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts.
Wow!
And she's also been interviewed on Ms. Magazine online because she is trying to get the city of New York to remove from birth certificates doctors who've been accused of sexual crimes. And it happens that the obstetrician who delivered our two granddaughters was a sexually abusive individual, and the hospital knew it and didn't do anything about it. And now his name is on my granddaughter's birth certificates. And the point is, why does the next generation have to be with this person? Anybody who was in the room at the time can be put on the birth certificate, and she just wants it removed. And I don't know if it's a lawsuit, but there are hearings before various boards in New York City.
How is it? And I lived in Sacramento maybe 30 years ago, when this Dr. Myofsky, who was an anesthesiologist in the Sacramento General Hospital or whatever, Sutter Hospital, and he would abuse women who were put under, with a wink and a nod from attending physicians, attending nurses. He would do things that I don't feel comfortable talking about on a podcast, for Christ's sake, let alone.
Oh yeah, well.
And this guy does it for like 8 years, and with and you mentioned that the hospital knew it. Well, in this case, the people knew it. The hospital isn't the building that knew it; it's the people that work in the hospital. And it's just like in government. If you have the enablers of Trump, for instance, they're just as complicit as Trump, and the people that vote for these people are just as complicit as the enablers. So it comes down to, we all as humans have to take personal responsibility individually for the world that we live in, and try to make it better.
I'm so proud of my daughter-in-law for doing this. There were other women who were his survivors of this character, and most of them did not want their name put out there, but she had no problem putting her name out there. First of all, it wasn't her fault this happened.
Right.
It was his fault.
And
she's been very outspoken. She's written articles, and she's extremely talented as a writer. And my other son is a lawyer in New York City. He lives in New Jersey, and his wife is in the third year of medical school. And each of my sons has twins. My son in Massachusetts has twin daughters, and my son in New Jersey has twin boys, all 8 years old.
Did you have twins in your background, your ancestors?
No. People ask us that. I say, well, you have twins in your family? I say, well, we do now. We're walking mutations. But actually, my daughter-in-law's mom in Massachusetts is a twin. There are twins in her family. As far as the boy twins go, they're identical twins, and that's just an act of God, or if you call it a miracle or a coincidence, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It's not something that is genetically determined. And I've got my two daughters here. Mary has two kids, a 6-year-old boy and a 3-year-old boy. And my youngest daughter, Leah, is having her first in July. And Mary has her non-profit, and Leah is a account executive over at for an advertising firm, online advertising, and is also a fine artist.
Let me ask you a question. You're successful, and you're passing this on to your kids. What did your folks pass on to you that you're passing on to them?
Well, it's hard to say, because my parents are very strange. My father was, I guess you would call a narcissist, and some of the negativity that I felt, I was very careful not to impart.
And that's a bad thing, a narcissist? Oh yeah, it is. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Well, it's bad in the sense that we're,
I know.
Look, I'm a movie star. I'm a little bit narcissistic myself, but a bad narcissist is one who everything is around. Am I being solipsistic, or is it just me? That type of thing. It's So I did not. I let my kids essentially make their own decisions and make their mistakes and live and learn from those, and that's what I think helped them be able to decide what to do in their life. I did not say, you do this or you do that. It goes for both of my boys and my girls.
Okay.
And I hope they impart that to their kids. I'm doing this thing in the acting thing because this is something I really enjoy. I started back in Austin, Texas, 40 years ago. I was in a couple of student movies, and I was hoping that one of them in which I was a lead would be the launching pad for me to go into this field. However, the students at the University of Texas did not complete the film. They had some major technical difficulties, and the teacher said, forget it. You all get D minuses.
Oh,
they got
wow.
their D minuses. I got a nice still shot.
Okay.
And my wife had it on her wall for 30 years, and I have it on my IMDb page.
All right.
So there in Samuel Whitehill, you see a younger guy with dressed as a cowboy shooting a gun.
Well, you're
like in
a Texas wrangler or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
Call you guys.
I'm a Jewish guy, but I had my last few auditions have all been for cowboy types.
Right.
I had one today, and I had one yesterday.
Tell me a little bit, or tell the audience a little bit about your Judaism. If I'm not mistaken, you're a rabbi.
No, I'm not. Steve probably tells you all these great things. I'm not a rabbi. No, I'm not. But I am fluent in Hebrew. I started teaching myself Hebrew when I was a teenager, and I've written 4 books of Hebrew poetry in Israel. That's where they're published. And
right.
There's a new book out from the University of Washington Press called What People Talk About When They Talk About Hebrew, or something like that. And there are 2 chapters in that book on my writing. One by myself, which has some poems in English and translated into English, and an article by Professor Michael Weingrad from Portland State, who's my quote-unquote big fan here in the States, and promoter, I guess you'd say.
Right.
And so I write Hebrew poetry. I publish in various journals over there, and I was a lawyer. I'm still a lawyer. I haven't been disbarred yet, but I'm just not active. And my son in New York really loves law. He's very good at it. And I never did really like it very much, and I shouldn't have ever done it. But you live your life, and this is what you do.
Boy, you're the 4th person in my life who has said that they've gone into law, and they really didn't like it. But I'll bet you learn things in law school through the process that serves you in life.
Oh, for sure. You learn how to think logically. And I taught freshman English when I was in law school, too, so I learned all the logical fallacies that people make, and I can sort of pick them out right away if somebody's giving you a bill of goods, to be able to spot that. And you learn that in law school for sure, and you learn to read and write so that you can be understood. And there are I've met many great friends in law school, of course, but I really didn't ever feel competent as an attorney. And as an actor, though, I really, really feel good about it. It's like a reinvention of oneself. And it's a lot easier to do than people think.
Tell me about some of your great moments in acting and some of the moments that weren't so great. Start with
I remember the only moment I had that wasn't so great was when I first started out. I was in some sort of graduate thesis film. There are so many film schools in Los Angeles, and in the graduate school they have fairly professional projects. And I was hired to play a British soldier, but I never got the call sheet. The call sheet's what you get the night before, telling you where you go, what time you're supposed to be there, other information.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed up till wee hours of the morning waiting for this, and never showed up. The next morning, nothing. So I started writing some emails and trying to get some information. I finally got it, and then I got out to the set a couple of hours late because of the delay, and then I was there another couple of hours. Then the producer calls me over and gives me $25 for my travel expenses. So I'm kicking you off set. I didn't like the tone of your emails. And so that was it was kind of an interesting experience.
Wow.
Other hand, I've worked a lot since then. This particular producer hasn't done much of anything, so it's the best revenge is success, I think.
Absolutely. Sure. If you could look back and still hate, you got the right spirit.
Yeah, but don't let people enjoy your misfortune, you know. But I've had some great experiences in acting. Rolling in the Deep, which is showing in Los Angeles on Sunday on African American short films. It's only 12 minutes long, but it's about a young black officer in the United States Army entering an all-white diner in South Carolina, 1945. And I'm the owner of that diner, and I'm not I'm not an American civil liberties type person. I try to kick him out, and the whole movie is based upon this young man's story, why he's in there and what he's doing there. And I have a change of heart, but it's every time I see one particular scene in this film, my eyes tear up. It's such a moving experience. And the filmmaker, Marcellus Cox, is not only a great filmmaker, he's a great person. He made sure that we would film my scene so I could get home before Shabbos, before Shabbat.
Oh, you are not only a linguist in Hebrew, but you're observant.
Yeah, we're fairly observant. I don't think our rabbis would necessarily agree with the way we observe, but we follow the dietary laws, and I don't work on Shabbat or from Friday night to Saturday night. And I've lost jobs for that. It happens. You have to be grounded, and I've been doing that for 40 years. So I've been acting for 3 years. So the 40 years has precedence over the 3 years, as far as I can tell.
Hey, if you were a New York Jew, you would be pronouncing it Shabbos.
I say Shabbos. I can say Shabbat, Shabbos. In California, we don't have kiddush, we have rehab. You know what I mean? That's my joke. I have all these jokes about Southern California.
that is beautiful. I'll use that line someday. With your permission, and I'll give you credit, and I'll remember your name.
My people will talk to your people.
Yes. Yes. Well, you never had an introduction in all the shows, all the times you've stood up in front of people. You've never had an introduction where the podcaster forgets your name. So
well, look, I understand.
I got a lot to do. I can't be doing all this memorization shit.
You and I are the same age, and we understand one another, whoever you are, Ralph.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll never forget what's his name.
What's his name? Yeah. But it's been fun, and I also enjoy the fact that you're talking politics. It's like being in Brooklyn talking to a nice guy up there about how terrible things are.
Well, I'll tell you what. You have a good spirit, and you're not angry to the point where you're. Where it shows through, you're logical. Where it shows through you, where you lose your logic, you lose your perspective.
Oh yeah, well, you can't be angry. My acting coach, Steve Easton, a great character actor, besides being a teacher, says you cannot get angry here in this industry. You have to stay sober and just go on to the next one. And it's good for life in general, not just for this profession.
Okay.
Just move on. That's what they say.
Steve,
I used to get angry when I was younger. I'd get angry and all that stuff. But, you live and learn. I hope we live and learn.
You mentioned you're a sports fan. You're a baseball fan.
My wife is. She's a psychotic person. She loves the Houston Astros, and she even had T-shirt for me. It said, "My wife is an astro psycho."
Oh,
We would
okay.
go to we went to spring training in Florida. She'd like to go back, but we haven't been in a few years. But she'd go and take pictures. She took wonderful photography of the players moving and jumping, falling, sliding, and all that.
Wow.
She never did harass the players or anything like that. She was in the audience. And one thing that we did notice at Houston Astros, their biggest fans were Mr. and Mrs. George Bush, the first George Bush.
Two of the most evil people that ever lived.
Yeah, and they sat in the front row, and you would notice it because there was this huge mane of white hair. That was Mrs. Bush, of course.
Right.
And he was just a regular guy. He had no pretensions. Now, politically, of course, we go different directions, but as a human being, he seemed to be a really fine human being.
Seemed to be, but then you think back, he was the head of the CIA, so I don't know.
Somebody had to be. Somebody had to be the head of CIA.
That's true, but I can't answer that. You're right. But he made it to the top.
Made to the top,
of the CIA.
It
takes a very special type of person to be able to do that, and like I say, a special type of person like Barbara Bush, when Katrina was going down, and these evacuees were trapped at the ballpark. I don't remember which one. Super Bowl, whatever it was. They're all in there. The toilets are overflowing. They can't get food. And they're sitting there, and Barbara Bush says, well, at least they have a place to be. And now this is after her son took back money that had been appropriated to fix the dams. When they said, and they gave him warning, they said the next major flood is going to be disastrous. So he reappropriates money, and it goes to Halliburton somehow, or, through Cheney. And this happens. And the woman says, at least, Mrs. Bush, at least they had a nice place to stay. So I don't...
His mother said that?
Yeah. And I can send you a link to the article.
She might not have been privy to all the other stuff he was doing, though.
That's true.
Possible.
That's true.
I mean, he doesn't say I'm changing the appropriations for Mom. She's okay.
No. But let me tell you something. It's not the family that you might think it is. And it gets back to Florida. They just said Jeb Bush decides the election in Florida. They don't leave a good taste in my mouth, the Bushes. Some Bushes, but not them. In any event, I hate to end it on a downer for you. Let's talk. Bring one thing up that would bring your experience on this show up a little bit, because if you would.
Okay, what do you mean?
I just don't want you to be unhappy with the way this wrapped up in terms of me ranting about the Bushes.
I'm not unhappy at all. It's been a really fun experience.
Oh, good.
You don't see me. You don't see what I'm doing. I've been driving around in my car. I was on my way to Costco to take something back for my wife and to check out a piece of furniture. But instead of going to Costco and saying, "Excuse me, I'm on the radio. I've got a," I've been driving around. Now I'm parking in the Costco parking lot, and but what you can do is let your listening audience learn my Twitter name.
Please, absolutely.
It's at Whitehill Actor, WHITEHILL Actor, and that's on Twitter. And you can find me on IMDb. You can find me on Instagram.
Okay.
Samuel Whitehill.
And of course on
Feel
Facebook.
free to go there. And
Are you on Facebook, Samuel?
Yeah, Samuel Robert Whitehill on Facebook.
I
combine my personal and my professional on one Facebook page, and
well, if you'll befriend me on Facebook, I will send you a link to this interview, and in turn you can send it to as many people as you think would be interested.
Okay, I will do that. You're under Ralph Tyco, right?
Tyko.
Tyko. That's Tyco. The other one is Tyco Toys, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The only difference between the two letters is like $5 billion.
Yeah, which you have and they don't.
Yes, absolutely. I'm keeping that under my mattress. They'll never find it.
Well, it's the posturepedic effect.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It works the old posturepedic effect, as Don Adams would have said.
You're showing your age because I heard you have a water bath.
Yes, and it's got bubbles, and I'm working the bubbles out with the broomstick. And as we speak, as a matter of fact, we both had chores to do today while we podcasted. Sam, you've got a great sense of humor, and I really enjoy chatting with you. I hope you'll come back.
I hope so too. I hope you'll invite me back.
I will on a regular basis. I will on a regular basis if you care to come. And like I say, chatting with you is fun. And if it ain't fun, it shouldn't be getting done. So
that's right. That makes sense.
We'll do it again.
Okay, we'll talk to you later then.
Thank you, my friend. This is the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I am comfortably zoned. I am Ralph Zig Tyco, and Samuel Whitehill was with us, and I had fun. So adios, everybody. We'll see you another time. The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.